about 90 minutes ago, we spoke with our law enforcement expert, Todd McGhee. He once again joins us for an update. And Todd, one of the things I want to ask you is, we're at least 4 hours into this now. How much has the search broadened? Who's involved? What's going on the ground and in the air to try to track down this suspect?
Well, what we know is Providence Police has been joined by the FBI, the ATF for your federal partners. Keep in mind also you have Brown Public Safety that will share their resources. Additionally, you most likely will have Rhode Island State Police. I've also been told that Mass State Police are on standby, and this was an announcement by Governor Healy that is offering the resources of the State Police, Massachusetts State Police Air Wing if needed. I would also assume those resources would extend to any canine support because we are in a manhunt. So those resources at minimum are deployed. There may be some other mutual aid from other cities and towns in and around the Providence area. But, this is the type of response it takes, especially when we have a gunman at large. And, it takes that multi-jurisdictional effort to bring resolution.
Todd, how important is time here? We keep talking about how we're now more than 4.5 hours into this. Is time the enemy of law enforcement as they're trying to find a suspect? We brought up the Boston Marathon bombing from a dozen years ago. It took a few days. Eventually, they did find the suspects because they unfortunately shot and killed someone. There was the shooting of a health insurance executive in Manhattan where it took a little while to find a shooter who was caught on camera. How important is time here for law enforcement?
Yeah, in both cases, those are great examples to bring up. And both of those cases took multiple days to bring someone to justice. In this particular case, the time is equally as important. We don't know if this individual has a plan to get out of the city of Providence. We don't know if they are a neighbor, someone that is, a resident to the city, or if there's someone that is connected to the school that's just here, while school's in session. So these are all undetermined factors that the investigation really needs to learn. But the 4 hours that we're into are critical, and the next 4 hours will be equally as critical as time moves on.
And Todd, one of the things that has been standing out to a lot of us here in the newsroom is, again, 4 hours into this, we still have no image of the suspect that's been provided to us. In 2025, where we say there's cameras and technology everywhere, is it even possible that law enforcement doesn't have an image of this suspect at this point?
Oftentimes we see the investigation unfold extremely quickly. And you notice in the first press conference, there was very little information that was released. That's by design, and I support the limited amount of information that's released. Law enforcement wants to get it right once they start publicizing information, but this is where your resources of the federal government will come in taking CCTV video, whether it's on a commercial building or if it's a Ring doorbell from a residence, and they've got the capabilities to stitch that digital information together and ideally start at that Hope Street location where the shooter was reported exiting. And then from there, that's a good starting place for law enforcement to start to investigate any type of digital forensics in the line of CCTV.
For the officers who are on the street out there, in those neighborhoods on city streets, what do you think it's like for them out there? Take us through what you think they're doing. It doesn't appear like they're going door to door. Maybe they are. Would you just take us through what you think the plan of action is out there on the front lines?
Yeah, you're going to have several orders that the police officers post orders. So you'll have some working traffic. You'll have some that are designated as investigators in order to knock on doors. You have other individuals that are part of this law enforcement response that will be part of the digital forensics research and investigation. So everyone would have a role. Everyone would have a task at hand. And at that, keep in mind, we're getting late into the evening shift. There'll be a shift change. And so at roll call, you can imagine there'll be a robust and vigorous roll call that will update the new officers coming on shift as they get their assignments for the evening. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of layers to this. But this is what law enforcement is trained in what we do best.
Yeah, and Todd, one of the other issues here is you're also kind of fighting fatigue from residents, from students on campus at this point after 4.5 hours. Does that become an issue for law enforcement if this, continues to go on, this search for the suspect, does it become more complicated once people decide, hey, I have to run out, I have to get gas, I have to get coffee? That's got to complicate things, right?
Well, it's a factor. We tend to work through those different challenges, as you kind of expect that when there's a high-profile incident like this, that you're not going to have a normal shift. So, law enforcement is resilient, and they'll work with the community. The priority is the community and public safety. And with that being said, law enforcement, this is where we shine, and this is where we do our very best.
All right, Todd McGhee, law enforcement expert, we want to thank you for your input here, and I'm sure we'll be catching up with you again throughout the night and the coming days, however it unfolds.